Thank you. Good evening, everyone, to the ZBA May 28th, 2024 meeting. At this point in time, I do want to point out the emergency exits on your far left, where you came in, on your right, and forward to us on our left ahead of time, okay? At this point in time, would you be standing? Kind to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Sorry, sir. Meeting starting at 7:01. At this point in time, I'd like the board to introduce themselves, starting on my left.
James Sullivan.
Charles Trout.
Simon Litton.
Lori Penzi. Andrea Witham.
Robert Freeman.
I'm the chairman, Danny Ramirez, and we have legal counsel.
Hyde Clerk.
Hi, clerk. Thank you. This is a continuation, the CM Fox subdivision. I just want to note on record that on May 10th, we received a letter from Heather and Ryan Manicus. On May 28th, we got also a letter from Kim and Deborah Johnson. And again on May 15th from Kim and Deborah Johnson. On May 22nd, we have another letter from Charles Trout. And I believe those are the letters from the public. We have, we received some final confirmations from engineer to the village from Bradley Grant. Information that we'll hear from tonight from Roe Andrus, right? And confirming some of the corrections to the print and the engineering regarding land surveying from Stephen Walrath. And then this evening we have something from the Albany County Planning Board regarding the subdivision, modifying local approval to include some recommendations by the Albany County.
Read those.
Yeah. Number one, review by the Albany County Department of Health for water supply, wastewater discharge, and other necessary permits should be required. 2, a shared access agreement, including a maintenance agreement, should be referenced in the deeds for properties due to the proposed ingress and egress and utility easements for lot 1 through 3 and lots 5 through 8. Number 3, a notice of intent filed with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation affirming that a stormwater pollution prevention plan has been prepared and is being implemented, or submission of a stormwater pollution prevention plan that is consistent with the requirements included with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation SPDES general permit for stormwater discharge, which is GP-0-24-001, effective January 3rd, 2024, for construction activities that disturb more than 1 acre of land. Okay, at this time, I'm going to have Roe Andrus fill us in on some changes. Yes?
Hello Village, ZBA, residents of Altamont. My name is Ro Andres. I'm a project manager for Walrath Surveying. Just gonna hang the plans up here. Okay, we'll see how that goes. As you all are,
No, I'm sorry, you could stand like right under that light there, because otherwise you're not going to be in the.
okay,
window.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yep. See it all right?
I'm sorry. Just to not have you have to be so close to the board.
Okay,
We don't need to do the video.
Okay.
So if you're comfortable.
Oh,
with that,
absolutely.
great. Okay? Thank you.
okay. If you guys can't see what I'm talking about, just let me know here. As everyone is familiar with, the project here at 130 Western Ave in Altamont, we have made some revisions based off of the village's TDE's comments. The latest comments, I believe they were distributed this past Friday. Revisions as such to further mitigate stormwater concerns that the village board had, and as well as residents of the adjoining properties here. Actually, sorry, folks, this isn't going to work here. Thank you. One of the revisions, most notably such, is an increased area buffer zone, we're calling it, from adjacent landowners. This area that is shaded here on the rear of the lots, we're proposing that this area would be a essentially low-maintenance cut maybe once or twice a season, just to further propagate the natural meadow that's currently out there. It may be a little hard to see, but it's on page C-130 for you folks. Runs the course of the tree line, which again, we are proposing that no trees in this area be cut. That is to maintain just, again, the natural buffer between the proposed houses and the adjacent landowners here.
Ro? I said, before you continue, can you give us an idea, the footage approximately from the
Sure,
property line?
sure.
How deep that might be?
It's approximately 50 feet from the existing tree line for each lot. Given that the size of each lot varies as well as the shape, we thought that was a good compromise to let the new neighbors be able to maintain their own yards, but also give, again, privacy and just further decrease the stormwater runoff in these areas here. Another comment from the TDE was regarding the sanitary connections for the individual lots. That was in his latest email this past Friday. We are proposing that for the individual lots, we are tapping into the existing 8-inch sanitary force main that is along Western Avenue. The shared lots will have individual sanitary laterals, but connect into a joint force main, of which will connect into existing sanitary manholes along Schoharie Plank Road and Western Avenue. That was a comment from Brad as to just the technical aspect of how we plan on getting the utilities to where they need to go. I'm going to flip to the next page here. Okay, this no-cut vegetative buffer is a little easier to see on page C-140. This shaded area here along the rear. Another area of concern that the TDE had was the orientation of the rain gardens. In this set of plans, we've also added and revised the location of a dry well for each lot. You can see here on, let's see, Lot 3, each downspout from the gutters of the home will be pitched directly to the rain garden. In these rain gardens, we've now detailed a 4-inch under drain to further reduce any overflow from these rain gardens. The overflow will pipe directly into the dry well. These dry wells will also receive any of the sump discharge from each proposed lot.
Basement?
Basement, correct. Again, just another layer to further reduce any runoff from these proposed homes to any of the adjacent landowners here. We've raised the FFE of lots 10 and 11 to further reduce any issues, being that they're in the flood zone for water in the basement at all. That's right, we've raised the elevation of the homes up.
Do you want to quote how much you've raised it approximately?
Brad had suggested 6 inches, and that's what we did.
Thank you.
We're at an FFE of 425 for both of these homes here.
The charts that I got today show FFEs for those two lots at the old elevation. Is there a newer set?
That's right, so.
Of charts?
Thank you, Simon, for bringing that up. The plan set that you folks are looking at, I believe it's dated 5/8. Those do not cover the latest set of comments that Brad from Barton and LaJudas had. So that was this past Friday. This plan set, which I will distribute after we address some comments today, this plan set dated for today covers all of Brad's comments from Friday.
And something else that I was a little unclear on is the locations of the dry wells with respect to the rain gardens. And what I have, the dry wells are between the rain garden and the house. Has that been changed?
Correct, that has been changed.
Oh, all right.
With this layout here, our dry wells are actually further distance from the home than the rain gardens.
Okay.
And with the way that we have the downspouts and the sump pumps connected to these units, it's really going to optimize these stormwater management practices.
While we're on the subject of some dry wells and the rain gardens. I was looking at the layout. Let me find it for you first. C502, on the bottom left-hand side. This is a visual. When you're putting in the dry well there, if you look at the, yeah, stuck in that corner on bottom left. It's showing the ingress and egress of the intake into that dry well, as well as the egress at the same level.
Yes, so we are hoping that for the rain gardens, excuse me, capacity of them, we had spoke last meeting about having the sizing a part of the building permit process. That, as well as the specific location of these dry wells, I guess will vary for each lot. This graphic has actually changed from the plan set that you have to the one that is here. That again shows our rain garden intermediate between the house and the dry well. The piped locations are different, as are the pitches from the under drain to the dry well. So this is a recommended layout from Brad. It has been considered, it's been laid out as he sees fit. This will be circulated to you folks, so you can see an accurate representation of what we plan to do. I can turn it here just a little bit.
Yeah, it's just my concern that, water seeks its own level. If you have them at the same level, as you fill in over here, when that thing fills up, there's no give and take, as far as dropping off and letting it flow out to the rain garden.
Sure.
Well, I think what we're seeing there is, once the rain garden comes before the catch basin, there's no egress of water out of the catch basin besides the perforations.
That's right.
So you move the dry well or
Yeah.
past the rain garden?
Pass a rain garden, that's right. Yep. So now the dry wells will have two inlets, rather, and then, as James stated, the perforations of the dry well will leach into the soil.
Right, thank you.
One other question I've had. So all these, because of the very shallow grade here, we've got these E1 grinder pumps. What happens during a power failure?
Nothing.
So what, it backs up in the house or what?
The systems themselves, they have a, if you were to look at C502, detail 5, each unit has an alarm panel that will be installed with it to further notify anyone, above grade what is going on. If it were to be a power outage or, say the system were to be interrupted, it would let you know.
One question, I'm not really familiar with the outside E1 unit, but would it have also, like the indoors, the basement units, it has its own check valve, right? So if
Correct.
there was power, you're not gonna get it back up.
That's
All right.
exactly right. There's a check valve, almost a baffle to further prevent gray water from entering the home after it's left. That's right. Let's see here.
Another thing too, I mean, unless someone was to, these houses, if someone was to go the extra mile and put an alternate, a generator, then they wouldn't have that problem, obviously.
That's not a bad idea to have a redundant power source. I'm sure many of us have experienced more inclement weather as of late. I live off of 146, and we've lost power numerous times. And Simon, when that happens, you're just kind of at the will of NIMO. One other item I wanted to address here. The driveway turnarounds were a big concern. One of the concerns from the TDE was the driveway profile of the sections of where an emergency vehicle will access the site. Page C180 shows proposed entrance and exit from the site, as well as turn movements. The turnaround has been increased. I think we increased it by 80% in size overall. And we have outlined the areas that will receive the increased sections of gravel and underpayment. I believe that's on page C500.
I think it's in 300.
Excuse me, that's page C300.
Yeah, it's, well, ours it's 300. It's the extra.
Now, Ro, on the old print, okay, we haven't gotten that one, just make sure. The cross-section that you have toward the bottom right, on ours has 6 inches. And of those 3 drawings for the driveways, no one specific as to, for the fire trucks. So shouldn't it be 12 inches?
It is.
Yes, so for the driveway, the cross sections here, 1, 2, and 3, show our profile sections of the shared lots. These areas of where the emergency vehicle will be entering and exit have a makeup of a 12-inch subbase, as well as an increased top coat and binder course.
Okay, I was looking at the cross-section on it.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
this driveway pavement section will be for the individual lots off of Western Avenue, as well as areas from outside of the emergency vehicle access to the home.
Thank you.
Just want to point out one more area here. Bear with me. Page C141 highlights the access area for the driveway off of Schoharie Plank Road. In Brad's latest comment letter, this is the only area left here where he had some critique for. And essentially, what we've done is increase the vegetative buffer. The planting schedule has increased for privacy of these homes off of Schoharie Plank Road. And the addition of the two storm catch basins here, we've designed the road in such a way that the edges will essentially pitch the water to these catch basins, and that's what we're hoping in a storm situation will, for these folks, truly benefit them. This was a design that works for the proposed homes, but is also beneficial to these neighboring homes here.
Question, Ron. Doesn't that depend on a functioning storm drain though across the road? We've had controversy about that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And at the last meeting, I apologize for my absence. I think Brad spoke to that really the name of the game here is to beat the peak. And that involves proper maintenance and dredging of the creek across the street from this project. Besides the technical details, I believe that's everything that Brad was looking for in this last comment letter, but I would love to take any questions if the board has any.
Do you want to go over a little bit more on some changes that I see on the swales along the northern perimeter of the property?
Absolutely. From the last time that we were here, we've increased the length of this diversion swale along the rears of lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, further to aid in the stormwater management of that area. The swale is mostly located, again, along this restricted mowing area that we're proposing.
But along the northern perimeter, the northerly end of the property has been developed on all the lots.
About
Yeah,
here.
Okay. There's a swale, it looks to be a swale of about 3 inches, You see, right there, yeah?
This area
And then on the other gray, same angled,
here.
yeah. That was added?
These areas were actually a part of the last set. I believe the swale made it onto the plan set for the February meeting. The addition here is what leads, what captures the rain flow from entering the woods here, diverts it towards this design swale up to the north.
Okay, got it.
Okay, sorry, I'm just getting a little warm up here. Again, I am open to any and all questions that the village has.
Anybody on the board have any questions, concerns? Chuck, you had a question on?
Well, I mean, I'm concerned, again, about, everything depends on the dredging of the creek, but that seems to be very in the future, so I don't know where we are with that, so.
I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. Hit me. In conversation with the mayor, there's an application that has been placed in there. And I heard something that they will allow you, when they review everything, to dredge up to 300 feet, which would be, around there. It's not a dredge that, for whatever. Things have to be in place, so what are you gonna do with the material that's coming out of there? I'm sure it'll have to be tested. If it's polluted, it's gotta be, corrected. If that comes to fruition and it's dredged, I'm just gonna throw this out there, rather than a disposal cost to the village, is there anywhere on property for that to be taken to build berms or whatever?
I'm sorry, off of the property?
In other words, out from the creek to the developed properties, if it happens in a timely manner. I'm just throwing that out there.
I guess it would be up to the client and the
Okay.
village to work something out.
Just a thought.
Okay, okay. Again, I apologize that you folks aren't looking at the most recent set here, but we've truly gone through with a comb and made sure that all of the village's CDE's comments were met. The layers of stormwater practices that we have here, we truly feel that this is the best, most efficient layout for this here, for the proposed homes and for the adjoining neighbors.
As Chairperson Ramirez read earlier, we've got a letter from Albany County where they say that notice of intent filed with the DEC affirming that a stormwater pollution prevention plan has been prepared and is being implemented, or submission of a stormwater pollution prevention plan, SWEP, is consistent with the requirements and the New York State DEC, Speedy's general permit for stormwater discharges. Now, I thought you had argued earlier that you didn't need to prepare a SWEP because of the size of the project, but it seems as though the county is saying you do.
We read it as a modified SWIP has been prepared and was submitted with the initial submission of this project back February 23. We read it as they are using that document
All right.
for
That's how
this
you read
project.
it. Do we have a different opinion, or
Well,
are
so-
we in agreement?
So it also is just a comment notice that if there's a disturbance more than 1 acre of land, so I.
Which is going to occur?
I think the figure was 2.5.
We,
Yeah, 2.5.
It looks like it might have been changed.
most current, we have an area of disturbance of 3.4, total project area 13 acres. With the modified SWIP, I believe we talk about not having close to 1 acre open at a time. We'd also talked about potentially phasing this project. I know that was brought up in discussion about the construction sequence. If that's a requirement that we need to meet, we can definitely integrate that into the plans.
Yeah, so I mean, really, the county notice is putting the applicant and the village on notice of what the state requirement is. So to the extent that New York State DEC requires more or requires that permit, that would be on the applicant, but not necessarily something that this board would have jurisdiction over.
Do you know what was changed as of January 3, 2024?
Seems like we were talking about 5 acres before.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sorry, 5 acres in respect to, that's the limit.
The requirement, according to this, it's changed to 1 acre
If,
as of January 3rd.
if the board wouldn't mind maybe forwarding those documents over so we can review. It's the first I'm sorry, it's the first that I've heard being issued from, was it DPW you said? Albany County?
Albany
Yeah.
County.
Albany County.
Albany County.
So if we could have those materials, we can better respond to that.
And do we have the deed restrictions regarding maintenance?
So the question was about the deed restrictions, which Allison, Attorney Phillips has worked with the property owner, attorney. So,
With the attorney, so that's on.
yep. And any final language would be a condition of, if the board was so inclined, that would just be a condition prior to construction, that those be recorded.
And that would also include the lot line adjustments that would go on record.
Yeah, so the lot line adjustments are shown on the site plan, so, they're not gonna be approved unless the subdivision's approved, but,
No, understand.
yep.
There was a question on doing construction or, let's say after your foundations are in, should it come to fruition, who's going to confirm, or will you be confirming the grading, elevations, specifications?
That's right, and we were hoping to make it integral with the planning board and the building inspector as issuance of a building permit to show proposed grading for the homes as well as sizing of the rain gardens. And then before issuance of a certificate of occupancy, a plan showing that the proposed plan has been executed as such that the building permit was issued.
Thank you. Anybody else, any questions? Robert, Andrea?
Not this time.
I think you've answered all my questions. And Brad's questions as well.
Okay,
on that
great.
form, so,
Do you speak into the mic more?
My apologies. I think I was talking to LaRoe. I think you've answered all the questions that were posted by the engineer, that I wanted to make sure and reassure that was made public, so that the public has that information, and public hearing is still open. And if nobody has any other comments or concerns that they want to voice, I ask you to do that now, in the public.
That, the letters, Steve's letter was on the website. The responses from Brad and then Roe are not.
They're not what?
He was saying that they should, if they're made public, but they aren't currently public.
Oh, so they weren't posted on the website?
They were to the board,
Okay.
so they're not currently public.
Right, so we'll make them public. Okay? Bradley Grant, the engineer, senior project manager for the village, won the applicant's submission of draft maintenance agreements regarding common driveway maintenance, snow removal, utilities, drainage, swales, lawn mowing, and related to the village attorney for review, are under village attorney review. Additional items that need to be covered are the private utilities, water services, sewer force mains, and sump pump discharge locations, dry well structures, such that these can be maintained as needed and may involve work on or across multiple lots. As an example, but not limited to, a leaking sewer service lateral that will impact the system for all. It has been the owner's prerogative that a HOA, homeowners association, not be formed, thus the necessity for formal language in these maintenance agreements. Consideration of drainage easements for the drainage swells should be considered. And that coordination of maintenance agreements with the village are currently underway. Sorry.
Sorry, Chairman, that May 7th letter was made public. It was provided in the materials and posted. I think what Ginger was referring to was the recent email from Brad, which would have been the Friday, May 24th email that we would read in. And then Rose's responses. Yep.
Okay, our engineer for the village, Bradley Grant, his comments on the plans revised on May 2024 are below. Number one, consider raising the finished floor elevations for lots 10 and 11 from 424.5 to 425 to reduce groundwater pumping during normal events. Lots or portions thereof are within the 100-year floodplain. And this because he's responsive to a letter that was dated 5/7/24 with that concern. This could be clarified in the building permit phase, in his opinion. Number two, we do recommend a grading inspection by the village engineer or applicant's designer engineer prior to the establishing restorative vegetation. Three, what is the status of the lot line adjustment agreements with existing properties on West Gahary Plank Road and Western Avenue? Are written agreements in hand? Number four, the intent of our comment regarding the new dry well seemed to be misinterpreted. Excuse me. We recommend all gutter drainage be directed to the rain gardens first, and a 4-inch under drain from them to be directed to the dry wells further away from the houses and closer to the swales. I can provide a copy of what you should look like or look for on Tuesday via email, and I do have a copy of that, right? Having the dry well close to the houses as shown would contribute to more runoff going toward the basement via groundwater recharge than if located further away. And then he wants to show an under drain in the rain garden detailed tributary to the dry wells. Number five, There needs to be clarification of the connection to the existing sanitary sewer or Western Avenue for lots 10 and 11, as a method of connection is unclear and type of pipe existing is not labeled. Please clarify what symbol a connection point represents, as it is not in the legend. 6, legal review of maintenance agreements are still active. Coordinate with the village attorney team accordingly. 7, there are multiple comments regarding the driveway drainage revisions for lots 5 through 8 and are as follows. The intent was to have a 12-inch wide by 3-inch high asphalt wing curb on both sides of the new driveway for lots 5 and 8 to keep new runoff from impervious areas on both sides directed to 2 catch basins. B, drainage system is too shallow at driveway lot for 5, 8, but can be lowered approximately appropriately by using 98 feet of 10-inch pipe at 0.50% from CB1, the drawing, I believe, to existing West Harry Plank CB instead of the 1%. As currently designed, there is no vertical space for a structure, flat top, and specified 8-inch deep grate. We recommend labeling West CB as CB2 and the East as CB1. D, use an 1182-B grate or equivalent that is only 4 inches high versus the 1182-D specified given the inadequate vertical space without lowering as discussed above. The new inverts would thus be 12-inch invert out at CB1, which is equal to 409.29. Is that the elevation?
That will be, yes.
Okay. At 409.29 and 4-inch under drain invert at 409.4 at east side of driveway, and a 12-inch invert out at CB2, the west side, would be 409.59, and 4-inch invert out at 409.7 at the west side. This deepens under drain and will help in conveying groundwater away to stream. F, label all the lengths and slopes of piping. Cross piping should be 1%, 98 feet to existing CB at 0.50%, and 25 feet length at 3.24% plus or minus. G, provide length of 4-inch PVC SDR-26 with a glued cap on the west side of CB2 and east side of CB1, as requested in last comment letter, to provide a connection point for adjacent neighbors to connect their existing sump pump discharge pipes in the future. Length of 4-inch should be to edge of their property line. Existing sump lines may be clogged, and connection to these new 4-inch pipes should be the responsibility of those homeowners if they so desire. Perhaps the board would consider a conditioned approval and closure of the public hearing if they commit to making these changes prior to final approval, and address proposed home sizes, layout, design, rain garden sizes, and non-roof areas in building permit phase. Post the ZBA approval phase, should it be. Any questions?
No questions, just one comment. Seeing as though we have met a majority of those comments from Brad's latest letter, we also would like to know if the village would consider closing the public hearing and moving towards conditional approval of this subdivision.
that is my intent. But I just want to make sure that the public has a final say if they have any concerns or comments regarding the changes and/or revisions on the plans.
I'm gonna need to assist for somebody to take my laptop out.
Can we just bring the microphone over?
That work?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Joe Connors. I live at 6393 Gun Club Road, adjacent to the proposed subdivision. Do you all know where we live? It's on the, I guess it's lots 1, 2, 3 border. Part of our property also borders lots on the other side of the tree line. So this directly impacts us, but my comments are more focused on the environmental impact and some questions I have. First of all, I think the public deserves the opportunity to consider any information that came in late. There was material that came in, I guess, late Friday that was posted, but the new information, I appreciate you reading it into the record, but to the general public, to myself, I need to consult with somebody to help interpret it so I can give meaningful input to it. So I'd ask that you not close the record today to allow myself and other interested members of the public to comment on the new information that came in late. So that's one point I have. I also would ask that you include all the minutes, all the video recordings, all the documentation pertaining to either the original variance request, the original SECRA review, or anything related to this proposal to be made part of the record for this hearing today. The village has control over that information, so I would ask that that all be incorporated and accepted as part of the hearing record today. In terms of some specific concerns and points, I would ask that the board articulate why it changed its initial SECRA designation of this project from a type 1 action. It originally was designated as such, and all of a sudden it was changed to something other than a type 1 action. That's significant, and there should be a record of why the board made that determination. You all know that a type 1 action includes properties that are substantially contingent to historical areas. Here we have not only the historic area of the village of Altamont, but Schoharie Plank Road itself has been designated by the state as a historic site. Based on those two facts, this should have remained a type 1 action. My second point is that an additional SECRA assessment is necessary before you can approve this subdivision. A coordinated review of a subdivision is required regardless of its size. At the August 23rd, 2023 meeting on this matter, the Chair Hext promised that there will be a coordinated review of the subdivision, a coordinated SECRA review when the subdivision was up for discussion. So that should be part of the process. Thank you. In the past, the SECRA review focused and was mixed in with variance considerations that were limited to the 4 keyhole lots accessed through Schoharie Plank Road. The SECRA review did not look at the whole project, including the cumulative effect of the other lots involved that are now proposed to be entered through Western Avenue. So we need a full SECRA assessment, and it should be a full SECRA evaluation because this is a type 1 action. My next point, it's been made in previous letters, but I think there's a real concern. Certainly, private citizens can make deals about land and have land covenants, but when the government, the local village gets involved and puts its stamp of approval on lot line changes that have the effect of circumventing zoning rules about the frontage required of a project, that's a problem. So if you're going to condition all this on future lot line adjustments or land deals between private citizens, you're becoming involved in that. You're condoning it in contradiction to your responsibilities to make sure that the subdivision and any keyhole lots, and I'm talking now specifically about the keyhole lot that has an entrance on Western Avenue. The only way that that works under the current plan is if the land deal goes through. So I think that you should apply a variance assessment and consideration to that entrance to this proposed subdivision. My next point is that right now there's insufficient data about the extent of runoff and the ability of the mitigating measures proposed to control it. We need more than hope. Hope was talked about, that it's hopeful that the mitigating conditions will control the runoff, but there must be a way to measure it. That's what I don't see in any of the documentation. What is the anticipated runoff? And how much can the mitigating proposals handle? Some more data, and without that data, you don't have enough information to say that these mitigating suggestions are going to be adequate. At the November 28th, 23 meeting considering this, Chair Hex asked, can the creek handle the runoff? Does it need to be dredged? Mr. Andrus said, that's a good question. We heard last week from Mr. Grant that the answer was yes. The creek does need to be dredged in order to handle this runoff. So that should be priority number one. Drain the creek, then go ahead with this project. Otherwise, you're dooming the neighboring residents to potential additional damage and flooding. So it's clear that dredging should happen first. I wasn't really clear from your remarks about an application for funding for dredging, perhaps by the village, and if you could clarify that, that might be helpful at some point, or at least the public should know about that. I did have a question about some inconsistency in what I saw as at one point, only lot 1 was not going to have a basement, but then at other times there were suggestions that the houses on lot 10 and 11 would not have a basement due to similar concerns of their water being at around 84 inches. I heard today that there's some proposal to raise the houses by 4 inches. I don't know the significance of that and whether or not that's adequate, and that's something I'd like more time to get expert feedback on. But I live next to this property. We have 2 sump pumps. We have a dry well. The dry well overruns, and there's a stream going through our property. Yes, there's mitigating attempts, but Mother Nature is tough to control. But there's got to be a way that we can measure it and anticipate to make sure that you can really be confident that this is an effective plan. To put off a determination until I'm losing my thoughts here, the permit approval process is inappropriate because the size of the houses, the way that they're aligned, the details matter in determining how much runoff is going to be added to this. Are there going to be basements or aren't there going to be basements? That affects the runoff as well. So please don't put off important factual decision-making until the permit process. Get the facts down that you need to make an appropriate, complete assessment of the subdivision, including an assessment of the environmental impact. Couple more remarks, and I appreciate your patience. I would have put this in writing, but for my, just got out of surgery about a week ago and was out of commission and still am walking on crutches, so I was in no room to put any of this in writing. But my next remark goes to the number of entrances. So maybe the developer can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I count 6 entrances to the subdivision. And I got to pull up my notes on this one.
Connor, there's only 3 accesses to the subdivision.
Okay, let me
think he's,
tell you what I'm seeing, and you can say, no, that's not an entrance, but
he's counting the driveways too.
9, 10, and 11.
Yeah.
that's correct. I'm counting the driveways because this subdivision contains more than the new houses. It contains the existing houses that are on the current land. So there are 6 different entrances that are on the current plan. Code 315-222 talks about minimum clear sites of distance when you're considering approval of this. And the plans at C-130 aren't adequate. They don't label any site distances for the shared drive to lots 5, 6, 7, or 8. And the other site distances are specified in terms of a site less than instead of at least. The requirement is that there be site distance of at least 130 feet. So labeling it that site distance less than a certain amount isn't helpful or doesn't meet what you need to make a decision on that part of your consideration. I'd also encourage you to make sure that when you're looking at this, you do look at compatibility with the Altamont Comprehensive Plan. I think Board Member Little made some good points about possibility of solar-ready, net zero limits, green roofs. The main point is we don't have any idea of the details at this point to make that determination about design compatibility, which is one of the things you need to do when you're approving a subdivision. Related to that is the idea that's required under the code about low-impact design standards. What I would encourage, I happen to have connections with the Conway School of Sustainable Design, and what they recommend are permeable pavers to reduce the runoff. You can have gravel, with turf pavers, with or without turf pavers, and that they can withhold the weight of fire trucks. If you want to learn more about that, or maybe the developer can comment on the feasibility of permeable pavers on the shared drives and the driveways. But you can look at Presto Geosystems or landscapediscount.com, which actually has photos of them in use with fire trucks on them. One of my final points is, maybe it's fixed, the whole idea of there's a new set of plans that the board is going to get. The public deserves a chance to get the final set of plans too, before you close the hearing. But in terms of the past plan of having fire trucks turn around in people's driveways, that didn't make any sense. I think, Chair, last time you mentioned you can count on there being families associated with houses on this if it's approved with 3 or 4 cars in the driveway. Unless you're going to have deed restrictions that you can't park your car in the driveway, premising a plan on the ability of fire trucks to being able to turn around in a driveway to potentially get to another emergency is not reasonable. So for all these reasons, I'd ask that you keep the record open. Let me add a couple more questions based on Mr. Andrus's comments. Thank you for the buffer zone. If it could be bigger, we'd appreciate it. We're going to reciprocate and have buffer zone and let it go to meadow on our side of the line too. We would ask that not only that the existing tree line be protected, but that some evergreens be planted along our property line. Right now, in the summer and the leaves, it's a great barrier. In the winter, though, you can see right through the tree line. We'll be being able to see into any new houses, kitchen or living rooms or whatever. So there are currently no evergreens as part of that tree line that borders with our property, and we'd ask that that be part of the plan. It's not currently indicated on any of the proposed maps. Again, I would need to look at the letters from Albany County to better comment on them, but an interpretation that what they really meant this is not what they said is not one that the board should adopt. You should look at the plain language of what that letter says and what is expected, and not say we're going to approve that. It's not we have hands off on this. You have an obligation to make sure that full stormwater pollution prevention plan is in place before you approve the subdivision. As a general question, what's the harm in doing that? Yes, probably some more money, but the assurances that will come with that could help avoid future conflicts down the road. Related to my previous point, don't wait until the building permit stage to say how big the rain gardens are going to be or the details. That's really essential to control the water flow that goes to neighbors' property. I guess in conclusion, I would ask that at this point you keep the record open to give the public more chance to look at the late documents that came in at a continued hearing, that you follow the recommendations of the county and require them to be part of the approval process. If this by any chance is approved, we ask that conditions be made, that there be evergreens along our property line, that no pesticides be used, especially in the meadow lands, but preferably on all the new grasses associated with any new houses. And I think there was one, the suggestion of the Johnsons that there be a performance bond attached to this is a good one. That's a good safety net. If there is additional flooding that can be attributed to this subdivision, it'll help provide some relief if there is a performance bond in place. So I would encourage you to adopt that as any final solution to this problem. Our family remains open to talking to the developer. Never met him, he's never reached out to us, never contacted us about this was going to happen. We're open to that. We're open to mediation sessions to have a more fulsome discussion of these issues earlier rather than later on down the road. Thank you for your opportunity to make these comments and your consideration.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public? Seeing nobody? Thank you. Oh,
Ted Newman, Lark Street in Altamont. It puzzles me that we're seeming to load an awful lot of responsibility to the people who buy these houses if they are built. That they're going to have to sign some waivers or agree to do certain things. They're probably not going to be aware what it is to maintain a rain garden. They might not know that you have to keep that swale the way it is, and et cetera, et cetera. And it seems like we're assuming too much of everything is going to go right with this. And I'm really puzzled that you develop a property where you have to make this many changes and allowances for water runoff, and you still go ahead and do it. I don't know what the legality is, but if somebody buys a house there, are they going to be able to sue the village because the village said this is a legitimate development? I mean, when they get flooded out after just buying a house for hundreds of thousands of dollars? I don't know. But it's something I think we should consider.
thank you.
Danny, I have a comment. So the problem with attributing responsibility for flooding will be that the major risk of flooding is from the floodplain, and the question will be, it'll be hard to determine whether the flooding would have occurred anyway, or it was from the development. So that's going to be hard to determine that. So.
I have a question for Mr. Connor. You've made a point in the past about the historic nature of Schoharie Plank Road. What's the basis of that?
There's a marker, I believe, from the state, it might be the state education department,
Okay, I understand.
Sure.
Just to make a couple comments for the board. First, just noting that from the engineer, his comments on Friday that were read in, he started those comments by saying that they were mostly technical. So, to the extent the board's considering the updated plans, we have our comments from the engineer that have been read in, and also have had the applicant's engineer here tonight. The comments regarding seeker, we'll note that seeker did look at the entire project. That's why it took several meetings to go through that variance process, because we had to consider the full subdivision as part of that review. Regardless if it was classified as a type 1 or unlisted, it did receive a negative declaration that's on file with this board, and should be taken into consideration as you deliberate. And one final comment: if the board is inclined to close the public hearing, you do have the option to leave written comment open for a certain period of time. Not recommending that that be done, but just saying that you do have that option if the board feels like any of the material that came in on Friday, May 24th, requires additional review by the public. So you do have that option, where then the written comments would become part of the record. So just want to make sure you are aware of that.
Thank you. What's the responsibility regarding the Albany County Planning Board notifications from the legal point of view?
Yeah, from a legal point of view, they've deferred that to local approval. So the comments are just that. They should be taken into consideration, but they're not conditions of the approval. So there's nothing to override in any approval. They're just comments that this board should take into consideration.
Let me make it clear that what we're deciding this evening, if anything, is the variance. This is not a building permit. We do not know the sizes
Subdivision.
of the subdivision.
Not the variance.
The variance of the subdivisions? Or
Just the subdivision. So this board considered the variance, which was for the keyhole lots. What the board is considering now is the subdivision of the parcel. I just want to make sure we're using the correct term.
They don't have the variance for this, yeah. They don't get the variance, there's nothing happening.
The variance was approved by this board for the keyhole lots.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I don't know if I'm out of order, may I just make a quick response?
Yes? No?
Yes, no more.
The variance approved were for the keyhole lots with the entrance on Schoharie. There was never a consideration of a variance for the keyhole lots on Western Avenue. I think the record and the transcripts will reflect that. And in terms of the SECRA, there's been a lot more information that has come to light since the original SECRA assessment. And I believe when you look at the old recording, the first SECRA did focus on Schoharie Plank Road. It didn't even talk once about the other concerns in the board's deliberation. So I would ask that you look at that and do a full SECRA assessment of this project. Thanks.
Would it be appropriate to leave it open for comments accepted for another 2 weeks? light of, I would like to leave the public comments and give them opportunity for those who are not here. Do we have any idea when this additional stuff might be posted to the website for the public to be able to review and or read?
If you're talking about the letter that you read, which is Brad's comments, and then what Roe has given as responses to that, I can get that posted on the website tomorrow.
So I will give them 2 weeks till June 11th and close it at the end of the day, Village Business Day on June 11th.
So the next meeting is.
The 18th.
June 18th, because there is an election on the 25th, so this one won't be available. So it moves the date of the next meeting up to the 18th.
No, I understand that.
So you're saying you want that, everything in
If the
that-
public wants to comment on the additional information that might have changed and or added when posted, we'll accept any emails or written comments to the village to go on record
Before June 11th.
by June 11th.
By June 11th.
That should be it.
So you're going to
Okay.
leave the
Alrighty.
public hearing open?
So I'd like to make a motion to let the public comment by letter available until June 11th, the closing day of the office, 4 o'clock on June 11th. I'll entertain that motion.
Just, what I think the chair's looking is that we would need a motion to close the public hearing, but to allow for written comment until June 11th.
I would note my objection, ask for the opportunity to keep it open in case the
Sure.
public has questions.
This is not a back and forth.
But I'm just noting for my objection to that proposal.
All right, motion on the floor to close the public hearing, but keep the public comments by letter, email, available and open for record till June 11th.
So moved?
I'll
Is there a
second.
Robert? Yep, okay.
Okay, so, roll call. Board Member Sullivan,
In favor?
Board Member Trump,
Favor?
Board Member Linton,
Opposed.
and Board Member Prince,
Opposed.
and Board Member Levin,
Opposed.
and Board Member Freeman,
In favor.
and Chairperson Ramirez.
In favor.
So 4 in favor and 3 opposed.
So the motion has passed. The public comment is closed, other than those letters. And this will leave the board available for deliberations, starting as today. Be aware that the next meeting is June 18th, not the 25th, I believe, because of elections being held in this room. That'll be the third Tuesday. So that having been done, we have a lot of homework to do, okay, a review. Anybody have any comments that they want to add or deliberate with? Any issues? Sonny?
Yeah, I do. I think in the past, when the board has received information, when the applicant hasn't got information to us within, I don't know, a couple of weeks of the meeting, we didn't consider that. That is, we left some time for both the public and the board to review that information before we had a meeting. And I think that's a good idea. I didn't get this stuff until this afternoon.
I know we had the engineer's comments emailed to us. that was as of Friday,
Friday after work.
yeah. Is there an issue on that?
He's just making a comment.
Okay. I know your concerns, but we have 62 days, plenty of time to deliberate. For the public, they still have 2 weeks in which to comment on this information and give us some outlook on their concerns and issues for us to be able to deliberate. Okay? So, anyone else? Okay. Should we hold off deliberations just for the next meeting? Rita? Okay. I'd like to touch base on a couple of issues and get some feedback and deliberate on that. I know that Mr. Connor was talking about, but this has nothing to do, as far as I'm concerned, about the permitting, because we have no idea of the construction or the type of homes that are being out there, okay? And the size, I know you mentioned, which is one of my concerns, about the size of the rain gardens. So if he's got a 2,000 square foot home, and I'm talking about roof area versus a 1,000 square foot room, those things will be adjusted accordingly. Okay, has always been an issue. I think the biggest issue here is that water, big water issue. I think the applicant has stepped forward and made many changes. The last one being a perimeter, pretty much called of a swale to control that water runoff. I do have concerns about the dredging of timeline when that will take place. But nonetheless, we want to kind of move forward with this here and talk about some of the concerns. I know from legal, the applicant's lawyer and our village lawyer in touch with what they have to do, because he doesn't want a homeowners association. And the buyers, as you had mentioned, whatever is in that wordage or contract regarding snow removal, maintenance issues, we're not alone. It's been done many places, many times. But one thing that was not brought forward earlier, and I would hope that this would be added, that on the main road going in and out of there, there is no parking. Thank you for bringing that up, that the parking, if anything, would be strictly on the client's property, where it ends off and splits off at the end, because we don't want a problem down the road. Now, as far as one of the concerns from the engineer that has been brought forward regarding the basements, I believe the applicant was mentioning that in contractual with whatever home owner or he's gonna build for, that that information will be brought forth, not only whether they want a basement or not, that would be their option. It's a construction issue. Having a basement, in conversation, Ro, would you confirm this here? That you will make sure that, or the applicant, that those homeowners will have that option of sump pumps, not necessarily just one, but possible multiple, of backup generation, so that they're aware that, you know, while I have not witnessed more than 3 power outages in the village of Altamont since I've been here. I've only been here 20 years. Maybe I'm just lucky, but it's an issue. Water doesn't stop. Okay, so in the contracts, you know, and whenever you do that, they have that option available, okay? Which also served purpose for something that was brought up by Simon over here regarding the sewerage, to have that continue and not have an issue in the home. Anybody have any concerns on the basements?
Well, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like the concerns regarding basements were already addressed in Brad's comments by the raising of the finished elevation? Okay.
We're aware that the applicant needs to provide the common access driveways to support a fire truck, okay? And Mr. Miller, I've read a 50,000-pound capacity is the design issue?
Right around the 50,000.
Okay, thank you. I am not the design expert here, but in looking at the turnaround or the T for the fire trucks at the end of the drive, as it may be, looking at the rigs, again, do you require a certain turnaround for those rigs? What is the design? Do you have any information on that, Gary?
I don't with me.
Okay. Is that something you can speak about? Do you need a 60-foot width? I know you'd be going into some of the customers' driveways.
I'd have to get the turning radiuses on our trucks, what I've seen so far, I'm not too concerned with.
Okay. Anybody have concern with that? It's not a circle of any kind where they can drive around?
I feel like it must have been February or January. We had a document that had different, or maybe it was in the code, we had different acceptable turnarounds, as it were, and I think the plans now reflect what we said.
Okay. Anyone else? We good? Turn around. I believe there was a comment this evening, Mr. Connor, along the common driveway, especially Gary Plank Road, the 2 homes there, the hedges on either side of that driveway to shield, say, the vision of the existing homeowners from, and their privacy. Those are not deciduous trees or bushes?
Correct. We've increased the planting schedule along that common access drive, as well as the planting numbers. But I believe they're a nannyberry bush that's good for buffering there. It's on page C-130. There's a total of 10 plantings now. That's increased from the last set of plans. And if I could just touch quickly on the emergency vehicle access. On page C-180, we've used to model the turnaround a 47-foot, 8-inch emergency vehicle, which I believe is comparable to Gilliland's largest fire apparatus in length and as well as weight.
Yeah, I have the same opportunity to respond to the question about trees that was afforded to the developer, if it is construed like that.
You can do it by letter. Okay. So, I'm sorry, you can just quickly, since I'm not a landscaper, those plantings, is that like 40 feet lineage, 50 feet lineage, 20 feet?
We've included, as the last page of this plan set, C503, which is a few detailed specs that outline, the correct planting procedure for deciduous, coniferous, and our bush plantings in such a way that will promote a good buffer space, but also the longevity of these plantings here.
Okay, but my question was, just approximately, the length, from one plant to the other by the end, you're gonna,
We lay them out in such a way on page C-130 to, again, just maximize any visual issue that the adjacent neighbors will have. So I believe there's 5 plants that are roughly between 30 and 40 feet in length along those homes there.
okay, thank you.
That would be not what we have.
No, you actually have the most current planting schedule.
So I see on C-130 along that driveway, some little dots, but they're not, they don't appear in the landscaping table. So I don't know what the dots represent.
Yeah, I see them, that, what you're looking at. Too small.
It looks like those are the northern bayberry. It's just really, really small.
That's correct. It shows on the landscaping table down below the botanical name as well as the common name. That is a northern bayberry. And there's a total of 5 on each side with a specified planting height. For these, it's a container size that we're speccing.
I'm cheating, I need to do this here because I can't see it.
He's younger than I am, so you can see that.
Somebody use this, just- My fingertip.
Here, get your finger. Oh, yeah, I see it now. Okay. I'm too old to do this.
Give me both.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point in time, I'm going to hold off on further deliberations, so I have time to digest this and anything else that comes in. come up with some questions that we can talk about at the next meeting. So unless any other board members have anything they want to discuss specifically on what,
I do have a question for Hyde.
Sure.
There were a couple of comments made about specific details down the line on homes, design characteristics, solar-ready, performance standards. Does this board have any jurisdiction over requiring above and beyond code?
So the design standards for the subdivision
For
requires.
specific- yeah.
Yeah, requires that the design of the home be different, different shapes, that not be cookie cutter, that the lot sizes be different, and that varies. So it doesn't get to the construction level detail. But I think based on what's here, you can see that they're not all going to be the same size home.
I think you're talking about.
But it's a general standards in the subdivision law. So you're not looking at actual building plans,
So
but you are considering,
as was suggested by one of the comments, us requiring the homes to have solar panels or be oriented in a way to be solar ready, or to have greater than code efficiency, that's not our purview.
no, you don't have the authority to
Okay.
require that.
As long as they follow the New York State.
Code.
Builders Code.
Yep, okay. That was my understanding. Thank you.
All right, so at this time, if nobody has any additional questions at this point, I just, any old business? Approval of the minutes?
No, the minutes are not ready yet.
Okay. Any other old business, anybody? Okay, I know on the new business, just a reminder that the next meeting is the third Tuesday of the month, June 18th, not the 25th. And unless I hear anything, entertain a motion to adjourn.
What's the formula?
So moved.
So moved.
So, yes.
Okay, second?
Second. In favor.
In favor?
In favor.
Board member,
In favor.
in favor.
In favor.
In favor. Right? Majority wins, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Meeting is adjourned.